Alright, should be another draftphysics.com, debatephysics.com, also video presentation, live video, just to see if any chatters might show up during the day. What the hell? Can't hurt to try and offer some kind of input that might be useful. But anyway, so we're still arguing with who I consider to be just a grotesque liar. Okay, so I mean, it's this whole Valerie Rousseau bullshit, you know, where he did this rubber band experiment. So the simple experiment was paper. You take a rubber band on an air track and you stretch it a set amount. All right, and release it. Now, unfortunately, he's releasing the cart with his fingers, which was not the ideal, and so it's a little air cart on an air track, and it's just going to get launched by the rubber band. Now, you can see that, right? Well, that's very small, so I guess we could go with the other view, which is bigger. Yeah, that's better. So the simple experiment is that you know, their theory is that twice the force. So if I do the experiment again, and I have two rubber bands on here, okay, you know, signifying what should be twice the force. Now, obviously, all these mechanisms have a flaw in the sense that the faster they push something, when they release it, they're not releasing it with all of its energy. So the lighter it is, the and the faster it's going to go, the more energy be stuck in the rubber band. Okay, so this is a flaw of springs and rubber bands, but it really shouldn't be enough of a flaw, okay, to do what they're claiming, which is twice the force only gets you 1.4 the velocity. So you have 1 v here, and then we have 1.4 here. That is, it's not even, it's only 0.4 faster, okay. And so he says he got those results. Now, I've shown I'll show it again. I mean, there's a clear, you know, the image of the computer trace is like this, and then it goes like this. Okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. And obviously, when he did the second experiment, it looked like this. Okay, so obviously something was wrong with the tracing software, and the fact that they won't admit that something went wrong with the tracing software, that it's not supposed to look like that. They know it's not supposed to look like that. So right there, you know, okay, this is shenanigans. But the fact is, he's saying he'll do the experiment again, and he'll put the 4 rubber bands on, and maybe he even do the 9 rubber bands, because 9 rubber bands is only supposed to produce 3 times the velocity, which, to anybody rational who's ever done any engineering in their life, must seem, well, that's just too silly, right? 9 times the force, I'm going to go 3 times as fast? That doesn't make any sense. You mean if somebody pushes me, I go a certain velocity, and if 9 people push me, I only go 3 times as fast? Who could believe that, right? Okay, but the fact is there's no evidence. So we can't go to the evidence and show people the experiments, because no one's done the experiments, right? Nobody's even gone to an ice rink and taken, you know, one person and pushed somebody, and then, you know, try to push them evenly, you know, and have the 9 people push them and see if they only go 3 times as fast. Yeah, I'm laughing. LOL. You know. So anyway, but that's their theory, okay? And that's what we don't have any evidence proving, and they're going to make all these accusations that levers don't work, all kinds of things don't work, you know. And, well, let's just go back to this other view, right? Well, let me show you this first while I'm here, right? So I'll just click on this, put this back up. So that's what I was talking about with the drawing, right? The sloppy drawings. You can just see that the two don't match at all, and they should. Before he releases them, the 2 traces should look identical. So the first part of that thing, the 2 traces should look identical, because it's an identical experiment until he releases them. So the first couple of seconds should be exactly equal. They should look exactly the same. Obviously, they don't look exactly the same. And it's just liars, right? It's just religious kooks or some other excuse, right? What excuse is there for anybody scientific to say, well, that's the way the software works, it doesn't detect right until the real experiment starts? But somehow, yeah, see, the computer knows when the real experiment's happening, and so all of a sudden it gets smart again and does it right. But yeah, it doesn't do it right before the experiment starts. So before the experiment, the computer doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. But all of a sudden, when the experiment starts, then it knows what it's doing. It's, smart computer, dumb computer duality. Yeah, the computer can both be accurate and inaccurate. That's science. So that's why I know all of this is bullshit, right? Is because who would defend this? There's nothing here to defend. This is just the way science should not look. This is a dog's skull on a brontosaurus. This is bullshit. And everybody should say bullshit. Okay? Everybody. It should be a unanimous bullshit. Nobody should be applauding, and nobody should wave their sponge number 1 finger, because that's bullshit. All right. I just can't believe I have to make a video pointing this out, that nobody who cares about science should believe the computer be stupid duality. Nobody should believe that. All right. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, this planet is just covered in lying scum. I mean, that's all you can find on the internet. It's, well, let's make a video, and we'll just see how many lying scums show up. Because that's all that's going to show up. Mostly. But it's just ridiculous. All right, let's go back to my better view. Thank you. All right, so we'll read the comments. That's the real point here. I guess I should check to see that this is working. I don't know if I can check, frankly, until somebody shows up and says, yes, I can hear you. So yeah, you don't need volume for this thing. So I guess I should be able to do this without any catastrophe. So let me go to, this is the wrong window. Don't need that one. I need this. No, don't need that one. I need this one. All right, and I need to switch to this, and hopefully that will not disturb my stream. Yeah, it really shouldn't. So hopefully that didn't disturb the stream any. Well, I guess we'll find out. It shouldn't have, though. All right, now I got to display that. So we have to go to Firefox here, and I click on this. And then I say device, and then I say community, and then I put it on, and that should work. Sorry, it's always a little bit of a challenge to get all this stuff right. Then I have to move this up. There, okay. Now, the only problem is it's not very viewable in this size, so now I can try to make it a little bigger. See what happens. Well, it's a little better. This isn't right. Is it? It's not even scrolling. Oh, I suppose that thing's stuck. Okay, there it is. All right. All right. So, well, anyway, the point is Blue Moonshine is now saying he will redo the experiment. So that's just plain great news, right? Because we don't have any of these experiments. So the whole point is please, yes, if you could do an air track experiment, if you could do like 10 hours of air track experiments, I mean, I'm sure all of us together can come up with lots of air track experiments for you to do, that would prove some of this physics. So I can describe one that I'm particularly interested in, which is, doing the experiment with 2 carts and the same spring. So you have 2 carts and you have the same spring. And then, oh, okay, you can't see that, so I'll wait till later. All right. Let's just read some of this tripe. So, I mean, this is, the very fact that he wastes time with these silly, just rhetorical insults instead of actually making some claim about the evidence that exists. This is a 350-year-old theory, that this V squared thing happens. And in 350 years, they've compiled 0 evidence. And that's the biggest joke, is that there's no evidence. We don't have, we have the Mythbusters with a car crash, so that's just one experiment. Then we have this little thing up here. Okay, that's an experiment, but it's not terribly precise, and we don't really have measurements. We just have visuals. And the 4-to-1 one is a little more. I mean, it's even more obvious in the sense that it makes it clear that one object is going 4 times as fast. 4 times faster. So we have some evidence, okay? We have pulleys, and obviously people defend pulleys as working and conserving momentum, so that's pretty hard to make an argument about kinetic energy there. And obviously we have all the guns and the bullets and all the other examples I give. But there really isn't any fucking evidence. And the fact that these are scientific people and they aren't saying what I'm saying, which is, well, why don't we do more experiments, more experiments, more experiments, more experiments? I mean, well-done experiments, obviously not stupid fucking Brozosian experiments. Dispar the liar experiments. Anyway. Alright, so, this isn't really showing much screen-wise. Alright. Yeah, what the fuck is with this? Well, we'll wait till I'll worry about that later. Alright, it says, poor loser, you don't understand your own native language. Come back when you're able to comprehend 5 languages. Why? I would argue that if I could comprehend 5 languages, maybe I'd be as dumb as you, because I've wasted a whole bunch of neurons on crap that isn't important. Being able to translate languages, okay, it's a nice thing to be able to do, but I would argue it's a waste of your neurons. You only have a certain number of them. They can only do a certain number of connections. They can only know a certain number of things. And I'm saying, well, why would I waste them on that shit? So, especially if I'm going to be making physics arguments, I guess I should be wasting my neurons on physics arguments, understanding that kind of thing. Now, again, as well, I point out in this thread, I did work in a machine shop as pretty much when I was 17. Okay, I think I started when I was 16, but regardless, 17. No, 17. All right, and this was right when the first diode laser was invented. It's the beginning of integrated circuits being routinely used. They're very expensive at that time. Blah blah blah. So, and I was making machines for mostly. They used to print with what was called a 3-color process: red, green, blue. And so they had to run, like if they were going to print the Coca-Cola labels or something, they'd have to run through the printer 3 times because it was 3 different colors. And so you'd have to make sure that it was all lined up. So you could always see that in the old days. There would always be misses, and sometimes there'd be these little funny different colors on the edges because when they ran it through the second time, it wasn't lined up exactly right. So I actually worked for a company called Light Engineering that actually made better, machines to do that job, so it didn't screw it up and make a mess, because it used diodes and to exactly create an edge, and it could measure the edge and always get the edge in exactly the right place. And so, I do know something about these kind of things, especially transducers for sonar and all that kind of stuff. Worked with all that stuff. So, at a very young age, so to speak. And I actually, invented using a solar panel to detect holes in plastic. So, because the ultraviolet light doesn't go through the plastic, and so you could find holes because, it doesn't get destroyed by the plastic, the ultraviolet radiation. So anyway, it was all, So I know what I'm talking about, fuckers. About some of this stuff. I had real hands-on experience in a machine shop building these devices. But anyway. So it's not like I have no, to say, okay, I have no education. Yes, I have no formal education. But I had plenty of informal, the same kind of education you could argue Faraday had, real world. All right, anyway. So I respond to this statement. You've been caught cheating a physics experiment. And certainly lying about what the vast majority of experiments say about kinetic energy. So, it's just the truth that nobody can make these arguments and say, oh, everybody knows levers don't conserve momentum. No, everybody doesn't know that. It hasn't been shown to everybody that levers don't, And nobody has proven that, and you haven't done any experiments demonstrating it, so it's just a pile of shit, and you all know it, You're never going to live that down. So the whole point is that you've made your bed. Now you're going to have to lie in it. Now he's going to redo the experiment. He's going to do the 4 rubber band experiment. So he's doubling down. He's basically saying, okay, my integrity is on the line. I'm going to show I'm not a lying scum. Or he's going to show he's even a worse lying scum because he's going to sit there and do it again right in front of everybody. he's going to cheat again. And he's going to try to fool everybody with his cheating. Okay. You'll always be known as a pathetic science liar. Okay. So then Blue Moonshine says, so you are telling us that even after you have been explained by several people, so I have been explained by several people, that ultrasonic sensors, so we used to call them transducers, can, because they could both send and receive. The same device could do both, because all it was a crystal. Okay, and you're basically doing the piezoelectric thing. You're bending the crystal, and that's, creating the radiation response, the reflection. Cannot detect reliably objects that are too close. So whatever this ambiguous too close is. So the argument is that somehow this thing wasn't detecting acceleration till after it left the rubber band. It already had been accelerated. And yet, if you look at it, right? So again, this is where you know they're just lying. I mean, you can know they're just lying. Because all you have to do is look at this line and know, but wait a minute, you're saying that I shouldn't see any of that slope. So you see where it's sloping? So the sloped line, you see where the line is sloping? You shouldn't be able to see that because they're saying it's still too close to the detector. It shouldn't be able to detect this is the acceleration curve. So it has a beginning that it starts to accelerates, and then it's decelerating. And so it has those curves at the end. Those curves wouldn't be visible if this transducer wasn't working. That's a fact. So I'm just saying, how can you say the transducer can't see it right? So why are those two lines so completely different? They shouldn't be. This should have this top one, right? I mean, this one should have the same flat part that this one has. This is just detecting that nothing's moving. This is where he releases the rubber band. Why doesn't this one say the same thing? Nothing's moving, and then he releases the rubber band. They should be saying the same exact thing, and there's nobody, like I said, there's no excuse for defending that shit. That's shit. That's not science. That's shit. And he shouldn't be claiming, oh no, that's the way the software works. No, it doesn't work that way. It's not how it works. It's not how it's designed to work. It doesn't say in the manual, you should expect it to give you completely wacky results until the experiment really starts, because the computer knows when the experiment really is starting. No, the computer doesn't know that. It's just bullshit. And the fact that they get away with bullshit is the whole point of me making these videos. The audience is the real criminal here. Because the audience keeps defending bullshitters. They're defending lies. They're defending a lack of evidence. They're defending not doing experiments. Why is the audience defending that as science? The scientists should all want more experiments, more rigorous. If this experiment conflicts directly with what he's saying, so what Rousseau is saying is the truth, this experiment completely contradicts it. And yet that's acceptable. In their book, that's the way science should work. Direct contradictory evidence should be considered brilliant. That should be like the day they all celebrate and say, what great science we did. We came up with experiments that completely contradict each other. That should bug you fuckers. That shouldn't be something you applaud. Should be something that makes you want to vomit. Oh, if you cared about science at all. All right, so several people, the ultrasonic sensors cannot detect reliably objects that are too close. So still absolute garbage excuse. You still don't understand it. That's right, because I have actually worked with sensors and devices, and I know you have to have a bug in your software. There has to be something wrong if these traces don't match. Something went wrong. Something didn't go right. Something went wrong. That's a wrong result. I know that from experience. Okay. Good. Keep making a monumental fool of yourself. Okay, so I'm a fool because I'm not going to accept shit as evidence. I'm not going to accept that, okay, Eddington only got 10% of the data quality on his glass slides. Instead of 10,000 stars, he got 1,000 stars. That means it's a great experiment. Getting 10% of the data quality means, yes, that's a great experiment. Let's all publish. No, that's exactly the opposite response. That's an experiment, you just forget it, okay? You can't publish, you can't say anything because your data sucks. That's what an honest scientist says. The data sucks, fuck it, do over. Wait for another eclipse. Sorry, you failed. That's what an honest scientist says. Okay, good, keep making a mind fool yourself. This is very enjoyable. So to him, it's about mocking me. It's not about proving science. So he has no interest in this subject. He has no genuine curiosity to why that experiment conflicts with his theory. So if I showed a lever balancing perfectly with a 1 mass going 4V and a 4 mass going 1V, he won't find any problem with that. He'll say, oh, that's just the way it should turn out. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, there's 4 times the kinetic energy on one side of the oscillator. That doesn't make any sense, but who cares, right? Because the science doesn't have to make any sense. You don't have to tie all this stuff together. This experiment doesn't have to validate that experiment, then doesn't have to validate this one, and doesn't have to validate this one. They can all conflict with each other because that's the fun of science. Keep it confusing and stupid. Ludicrously irrational. That's what physics, that's what science should be. Ludicrously irrational. That's the fun of it. No, that's the disgrace of it. Alright, so I responded. Back in the late 70s, I was using ultrasonic transducers to build control devices for industrial machines. They didn't have any problem measuring inches of distance. There is no good reason the two carts don't have the same general appearance. The two charts don't have the same general appearance. There's no reason why don't detect the non-movement exactly the same. Okay, there are only bad reasons, and that's just the absolute truth. There's only bad reasons those two charts don't look the same, have the same general appearance. Only bad reasons, no good reasons. Okay, the future will prove you a cheat and a liar. Why didn't you test with 4 rubber bands? Or 9 rubber bands, or 16 rubber bands? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And why didn't he? I mean, it would have taken all of, 4 extra minutes, maybe? Maybe. 4 minutes. Ooh, yeah, who has 4 minutes to burn? Oof, nobody. Yes, we're doing way too many interesting things to spend 4 minutes. 4 extra minutes. Alright, 2 rubber bands was enough to prove you wrong. So again, the proof is in contest. It's in conflict with the other experiments. So you can again keep saying I've been proven wrong, and I'll just keep pointing to things like that and say, fuck you. Alright, what will you say when I will do 4 rubber bands and prove you wrong again? So I'm saying, great, let's see it. Okay, you will flee as usual. So he keeps talking about fleeing. Here I am making live videos. I'm referencing your material. I'm drawing pictures of your fucking experiment. I'm explaining why I think it's absolute ludicrous nonsense. And he calls that running away. So can you see the duplicity, the complete dishonesty? I mean, it doesn't matter how, if it's red as red could be, he's going to call it green. I mean, he just couldn't care less about the truth. Oh. Just amazing nonsense from a scientist, from a fucking scientist. To make this accusation that I have run somewhere. Where did I flee to? I fled to, well, what about this experiment? And what about the one where it's going 4 times as fast? It's really obvious. How do you explain those experiments? How do you explain when, we have rubber bands pulling 2 wooden blocks together, and I have 4 blocks, and I have 1 block, and they go smashing into each other, and one of them is supposed to have 4 times the kinetic energy, and somehow when they meet, the collision stays right here. This one has 4 times the energy, yet the collision just stays right here. It doesn't go anywhere. This one doesn't win. How do you explain that? That failure to win when it has 4 times the energy. 4 times the sparkly scalar power. How come the scalar power can't do any work? How come it can't move the spaceship? It can't move the gun's recoil? It can't do anything. It's so lame and weak. Oh, it's just so pathetic to have to make these arguments over and over again. Alright, so what's the point? The only reason I'm going to do it is because it will again it will give again an opportunity for to everyone, including physics students, to laugh at you again, right? So he's arguing like there's a physics student somewhere in this audience. So another lie, right? I mean, just another lie. There's no evidence of anybody being a physics student in any of the comment threads. Just no evidence of any such thing existing. Because I think a physics student would be generally curious, right? They haven't been indoctrinated yet. So they just want the truth. You know, and they'd be saying, sure, you're going to do some more experiments? Yeah, I like experiments. Experiments are cool. Show me, show me, show me. If the student says, show me, show me, show me, until they beat them to death and say, it's about the math, moron. You don't get to see anything, okay? All I want you to see is a fucking, dot product. If you can't, that's it. There's nothing else I want you to see is dot product. Okay. Yeah. All right, so 2 rubber bands was enough to prove you wrong, he says. And I respond. What was proven is you cheat. Anybody reasonable knows the computer traces should have been identical before you release the rubber band. So before he releases the experiment, the 2 traces should have been identical. No reason they shouldn't have been. No good reason. Fact. Absolute freaking fact that anybody who's ever done any scientific experiments should know, yes, that's true. Okay, before anything's moving, the traces should be the same. Okay. What will you say when I do 4 rubber bands and prove you wrong again? What's it matter what I say, right? So, no, I'm going to say, well, there's still these other experiments that conflict. So I'm saying, I guess we need to verify. I guess we need somebody else to do the experiments to see if you can make it happen again and again and again. And again, if you're just going to exploit the fact that you can stretch rubber bands and ruin them, so they don't work anymore, or something else like that, right? Is there something you're doing to force the experiment to come out your way? Okay, something like Lewin shenanigans, blobs of clay kind of shenanigans. All right, fact is, no one's done the experiments and videotaped it. Now that's just a fact, right? We can't go to anybody else who's ever done this simple experiment of increasing the force, okay, and then see if you can, make the object, move quadratically, unquadratically, in the sense that to conserve the claimed kinetic energy, and so there's just no evidence of this fact that twice the force only gets you 1.4 the velocity. Again, no evidence, right? That thing's still there, right? Yeah, it's still there. Yeah. There's no evidence, okay, debunking that, except for the evidence he's making. Okay, so all right, so fact is, no one has done the experiment and videotaped it. So if you people had any interest in science, you would think you would want to produce the first internationally available experimental evidence. This is it. The whole world is waiting for this evidence, right? So anybody in the world could now go to this experiment and see that it's actually true. Okay, levers, let's show us levers failing to make twice the velocity. And then we can do the reverse experiment where you put the thing in going a 1 mass going 1.4, and it can make a 2 mass going 1, and you can make free momentum. Somebody should do that experiment. Wouldn't that be a great experiment to see? Anyone in this conversation who's not for these experiments actually being done has to be called shit. They have to be called some kind of, they can't be allowed even in the conversation. It's so obnoxious to what science is supposed to be. Science is supposed to be collect as much evidence as you possibly can. It's the most important thing you do is create evidence, even if it's logical evidence. All right, so he says, you will flee as usual. And I say, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm directly accusing you of doing fake science. You have responded with drivel about how your computer software never works right. So his argument is, it's never reliable. I never get the same ad. It doesn't work consistently. Every single time I do the experiment, it comes up with some kind of weirdo shit but when I say go, the computer knows. No fucking around. No more messes. No, don't fuck around no more, computer. Yes, this is his theory. It's priceless bullshit, right? You just can't get more bullshit than that. How much more bullshit can you get than this is a response? Oh yeah, the software's supposed to be irrational. No, it isn't. So what's the point? And I say the point is there's no experimental evidence demonstrating your silly theory. That's the point. There's no fucking experimental evidence demonstrating that levers don't conserve momentum, that somehow you can't push half masses twice as fast. Again, this experiment demonstrates you can push half masses twice as fast. You could push 1/4 masses 4 times as fast. This experiment proves that. And it's in direct contradiction to what you're claiming, you lying shit. So instead of insulting me, insult this guy. Prove where he fucked up. Prove how he did the experiment wrong. Are you doing that? No. Why aren't you doing that? Because you don't give a shit about science. You don't give a shit about these subjects. Oh, you're just such a badge wearer. You're just giving a shit about wearing your fake diploma. All right. Ew, it's disgusting. All right, so I'm asking as a curiosity. Just as a curiosity, have you seen the Mythbuster car crashes? So let's understand. The Mythbusters crash the cars. 100 miles an hour, same car. 100 miles an hour, same car. 50 miles an hour. Car only crushed twice as much. Not 3 times as much. And certainly not 4 times as much. Demonstrating there was no quadratic increase in the power of the fucking explosion and the power of the crushing. There was no 4 times the heat. There was no 4 times the energy. None of that shit happened. Because it doesn't happen. Because the only thing in the universe that makes anything happen is momentum. Newton's momentum. Descartes' momentum. Galileo's momentum. All right. Pretty decisive evidence that there's no quadratic increase in damage. Now, they also did it with clay, so I'm just saying the clay also didn't quadratically crush. It only crushed twice as much. So, again, it's a pretty good piece of evidence. You want to claim it's garbage? Well, go ahead, dissect it and prove it's garbage. All right, but I don't see you doing any of that. I don't see you recognizing the contradictions in the evidence and accounting for them. I am accounting for them by saying, you fucking cheated. Yeah, that's the simple answer. All right. The only reason I'm going to do it is because it will give, again, an opportunity to everyone. Okay, so whatever that means. Looking forward to it, as I said. Please use a quick release. I mean, it's really so much better than dragging your finger on the object, which I claim that's why those lines are fucked up, is because he just dragged his finger on the cart. That's exactly the line you would get if he dragged his finger on the cart. So let's just understand. I think, everybody should be able to figure that part out. That if I was to drag my finger on the cart, then it's moving. So it started here. Instead of this cart starting here to move, he started it early. And so it was already moving. So it already used up some of its energy. So that's why it didn't go twice as high. It's because he already killed half the rubber band's energy by dragging his finger. Yeah, that's what he did. It's a reasonable interpretation of the evidence. I'm just saying it's a reasonable interpretation of this line. See, what I'm saying is that the time that he released it for this experiment was here. The time he released it is here for this experiment. So if you move this experiment forward, okay, to this point, you could see that that's what he did. So this is the real, right? So the real amount, okay, of the difference is from that bottom point all the way to the top. And that would be almost twice, right? So if I put this back up, you can see that, right? So if you look at the full line, that full giant distance there, that would be twice this distance. Well, you can't see my mouse. There's no way I can... Oh, well, I have his dick head, but where is it? Yeah, it's not here. It's not in this view. All right, so anyway, we'll do without. Yeah, I don't need to make the argument too extensively. I'm just saying you could understand that the real amount, the zero line, doesn't exist for the other experiment because he never zeroed it. He never allowed it to go 0 velocity and then release it. That never happened. Simple explanation. A viable explanation. Let's just say it's a viable explanation for why that chart looks the way it looks. And it's clearly indication of cheating. Okay. So I said, look forward to it. Use a quick release, and how about doing more than 1 trial this time? Obviously, you should always do at least 2 or 3 trials just for, just to see how consistent your process is. What's the big deal, right? 9 rubber bands. Why not try it and see if you only get 3 times the velocity? I mean, like I said, rubber bands are not perfect. They're not going to give all the energy. So the faster they go, the little bit they lose. The faster they have to move something, the faster the velocity, they lose some of their effectiveness. But it's not nearly enough to create, to mean it takes 9 rubber bands to go 3 times as fast. That's not possible. 9 rubber bands is going to get you a hell of a lot more than 3 times the velocity. And that's just an absolute guaranteed fact. All right. Keep the velocity moderately low. Obviously, the slower the velocities, in this case, the better, just because as you get to those higher and higher velocities, it gets more likely that the rubber bands will not be very effective because they only move a maximum velocity. So you don't want to get very close to the maximum velocity of the rubber bands, because that will mean it won't work either. You can't make a piece of dust go as fast as it needs to go to get all of the energy, because the rubber band can't move that fast. It can't do the conversion. So there's no hope of getting the energy into a piece of dust. All right, then he says, including physics students to laugh at you again. And it says, and I said, what physics students? Question mark, right? There's no physics students, right? I'd love to see one. I'd love to see an Xavier College student. I'd love to meet one of these creatures. I'd love to talk to one of these creatures and just see whether they think this lunatic, okay, is something other than a lunatic. That this professor is something other than a lunatic. Okay. Can you give me the screen name of a physics student watching my videos or yours? All right. Like I said, the physics student they're going to want to see it, man. They're going to say, yeah, show me, show me. I love the show me thing. Show me, show me, show me, show me. Come on, come on. Do the science striptease. Show me it all. Come on, show it all. Every bit of it. Show me, show me, show me. That's all they're going to say. All right. So we did that section. We'll do this. So he did, there's more than one, pile of shit here. So I might as well read some of this other shit. But people they're just so dishonest. All right. So this is some idiot called 1 Minute World. He's some kind of poofter. He does 1 minute videos about poofy subjects, fluffy stuff. Also, you don't understand the experiment that you're consistently playing in the background. So he's saying, I don't understand that this is going twice as fast. And it goes twice as fast right from the very beginning. It accelerates at twice the rate. It accelerates twice as fast. It goes twice as far in the same amount of time. At every stage, it's going twice as far in the same unit of time. That's twice the velocity. He's saying, I don't understand that. Okay. Both carts with the fans on them are being accelerated for exactly the same duration. Well, yes, the total amount, if you just keep going, and they'll both reach terminal velocity or whatever, and that'll be the end of the experiment, in the sense they won't accelerate anymore. The one mass, therefore, had more time to gain energy. So there's no more time. He just says the same duration, and then he says the one mass, therefore, had more time to gain more energy. It's the same duration. So can you understand that? Oh, what are you talking about? So he just says, are being accelerated for exactly the same duration. So yes, when one's twice as far, it's the same time as the one that's half as far. Same duration, same amount of time. And then he says the one mass therefore had more time to gain more energy. How does it have more time? It doesn't have more time. You don't wait till it catches up. You don't stop the 2 velocity car and then say, well, let's wait for the other one to show up. And then we'll say it's an even race. You don't do the race that way. You don't stop something from crossing the finish line and just say you have to stay here, okay, and wait for the other guy to catch up. No, you don't do that, moron. I mean, this is just so fucking irrational. I'm saying, why do I even respond to that? I should have just blocked this lunatic and just said, fuck this. This is too irrational. All right, so anyway, the one mass therefore had more time to gain more energy. Bullshit, it did. So yes, the one mass is supposed to go twice as fast. So he says right here, so yes, the one mass is supposed to go twice as fast. Their claim is it doesn't go twice as fast. So you're contradicting their theory, you fucker. You're contradicting everybody in this argument that's supposed to be on the opposing side. They say it only goes 1.4 as fast. It can't go twice as fast. You can't say it will go twice as fast because that's not supposed to happen, shithead. All right, that's what science predicts. So that's just a lie. So fuck you. I mean, this is so outrageous. I mean, I got Steve Mould saying it. The lever will not produce twice the velocity. It will only produce 1.4. Okay, that's the argument they're making, you lying sack of shit. Oh, amazing. All right, the one mass will go 1.4 times when the energy input is exactly the same. And the energy input is exactly the same. Fans on the same speed. It's the same amount of time connected to the cart, pushing the cart. So it is the same wind blowing two boats. And you're just saying one boat is twice as heavy, same wind, same sail. Obviously, the boat that's lighter goes farther, faster. But in that case, the acceleration time is not the same for both carts. So again, the acceleration time is irrelevant, but it is exactly the same. They're accelerating for exactly the same time. One of them is accelerating twice as fast. There's no confusion. It's always twice as fast. Not 1.4. It's always twice as fast. Okay, in that case, the one mass has less time to accelerate, so it will only go 1.4 as fast. So he says it's going twice as fast, then he says it's only going 1.4 as fast. I mean, come on. This is just so fucking turdily shitty, convoluted nonsense. How can you keep contradicting your own sentences? You fucking weasel. Alright, you can easily test this out yourself. Go fuck yourself. God damn, I'm showing the experiment. You show me the experiment. You show me, link me to your experiment showing it going 1.4. It's not going 1.4 there, so you show me the experiment where it's going 1.4, you fucking weasel. God damn, these people are such liars. Alright, you also don't understand the experiment. I bet it's you who don't understand. And then he says, both carts with the fans on them are being accelerated for exactly the same duration. Yes, that was pointed out in the video. The same exact energy in, the same exact momentum in, the same momentum out. Not the same energy out. One of the carts is somehow magically going with twice the kinetic energy. Even though it got exactly the same force, it's got twice as much energy. Alright, the one mass therefore had more time to gain more energy. So the same amount of time isn't the same amount of time. So they're accelerating for the same amount of time, but yet it's not the same amount of time. Like I said, this is so fucking idiotic. Why should I have to respond to these idiots? So yes, the one mass is supposed to go twice as fast. Kinetic energy theorem predicts 1.4 the velocity. That's the prediction. So he's claiming something that just isn't true. It doesn't predict it goes twice as fast, and he's saying it does go twice as fast, as if. And you're saying, how can you do this? You're forgetting your previous falsehoods. Remember, you say levers don't work. They can't make 1/2 mass things go twice as fast. So I'm just explaining to him, this is not your theory, moron. You're arguing defending the wrong theory. That's what science predicts. That's not what you predict for bowling balls or levers. So again, we keep going on and on. The one mass will only go 1.4 when the energy input is exactly the same. Same fan, same speed, same time, same force. You're just a liar. So again, he's just made up shit. That somehow it's doing both, the 1.4 thing, and it's going twice as fast. But in this case, the acceleration time is not the same for both carts. The total time is exactly the same. It doesn't make any difference. Obviously, it's the same time for the thing to go twice as far. Same amount of time. Same amount of time. Same amount of time, same amount of time, same amount of time. And it's not going 4 times as far, it's just going twice as far. Twice the velocity is twice the distance. In that case, the one mass has less time to accelerate, so it will only go 1.4 faster. You can easily test this out yourself. This is just such a lie. In what case? Question mark. You're just talking gibberish now. Yeah, where? Show me this. Alright, so then he responds. When a one mass and a two mass are launched with the same energy input, the spring compression or same rubber band stretch, the time it takes to accelerate the one mass is not the same as the two mass. It obviously is in the same frame of time. It goes twice as fast in the same time that the other one goes 1 unit of speed. It happens in the same year of time, so obviously it's just a lie. Obviously a one mass accelerates more easily. It doesn't matter whether it's going it's accelerating to twice the velocity. So of course it accelerates to twice the velocity in the same time it takes to accelerate the 2 mass to 1 velocity. There's no contradiction here. Okay, therefore the acceleration time is shorter for the 2 mass. So there's no shorter time. Therefore the 1 mass leaves the spring and rubber band sooner. None of that is relevant. Doesn't make any difference, and it doesn't leave sooner because it took the same amount of time to go twice as far. But whatever. Obviously from leaving the rubber band, they're both going to leave the rubber band at the same point, the same exit point from the rubber band. But no one's talking about that. We're talking about what's the velocity it actually produces, jackass. What's its measurable velocity? Its measurable velocity is twice as fast. So obviously it doesn't matter how the rubber band accelerated. We know what velocity it produces, you fucking lunatic. What velocity it produces is right there visible. It's twice the velocity, you fucking lunatic. Okay. Let's see, how much sooner does it leave the 1 mass leave? It's not sooner. It doesn't leave sooner. It leaves faster. It's going twice as fucking fast. Right from the starting line, it's going twice as fucking fast. And it stays going twice as fucking fast. And through the whole experiment, it's going twice as fucking fast. It happens to be 29%. What are you just making shit up? Only when both the 1 mass and the 2 mass are accelerated for exactly the same duration, then the 1 mass will go twice as fast. So again, this is just absolute bullshit that you need more accelerating time to accelerate something twice as fast. So even though the rubber band's moving twice as fast, somehow I'm supposed to expect that it can't be moving twice as fast. Of course it's moving twice as fast because the cart's going twice as fast. The spring has to move twice as fast to make the thing go twice as fast. If the spring doesn't move twice as fast, it won't be going twice as fast. Duh. There's no 29%. It's either going twice as fast or it's not going twice as fast. It's going 1.4 as fast. You can't have it both ways. You're just so full of shit. So anyway, I just say, you're a fucking lunatic is what I say. The time it takes to accelerate a 1 mass is not the same as the 2 mass. I say the experiment involves a constant force applied for a fixed amount of time. Obviously twice as fast as twice. Obviously going twice as fast means you're going to go twice as fast and go twice the distance. That's what the experiment shows. You're talking shit. Okay, but it's just ridiculous. So I should just block this asshole. Alright, so he says here again, you don't understand how motion sensors work. Okay, so he says veneer sensors, yeah, I think that's right, can only accurately detect carts when they are 20 centimeters away from the sensor. So it's just a lie, because we know it's accurately detecting no motion. So that's just a lie. And we know it's detecting when he lets go. So we know that little flat line would go longer if he waits longer to let it go. So we know it's detecting no velocity. It's an absolute fact. It's detecting 0 velocity. So it's just lie. This is just a lie. Okay. That's why anything closer to 20 centimeters gives absurd data. So where's the absurdity? In one case, it's got perfectly rational, coalesced data. It's measuring 0 velocity. In the other case, it's measuring some kind of velocity when there isn't any. So how did it do that? You can see that in the velocity table during the experiment. Yes, you can see clearly that the two don't match at all. Also, you said you were going to count frames. Why didn't you do that? I said you could count frames if he didn't drag his finger. Obviously, if he drags his finger on the cart, there's no point in counting frames because the cart never went twice as fast. So the argument is, yes, it's not going twice as fast because he fudged the experiment. He forced it to go slower than twice as fast. So I should just block him, which I think I will, because this is a dispar link that's of no value. As usual, Gary is making a spectacular fool of himself. No, what I will do, as I always have done, is talk the truth to a lying bunch of scum in the world. And that's all I have done, and that's all I'll ever do for the rest of my life, is be an honest, decent person trying to defend the truth against the pathetic religious liars of the world, the fabulists, the people who refuse to accept reality for what it is. All right. You don't understand how the motion sensors work. Veneer sensors, okay, that's what he said. And I said, so if it can't detect the cart, how did it detect the 0 acceleration start? So that's the simple argument. How did it do it? How did it actually see, I guess I could move this thing out of the way. This thing, yeah. Okay. So let me redraw the patterns again. I could do it on here. So one of them, it does this, then it does this, and then it does this and this. And the other one does this. Okay, and this is supposed to be the 0 line, right? So this is the 0 line. So you can see that it never went 0 up and then flat. So this should have been just the sensor should always go straight up and then go flat. So this part should always be there, right? This is the computer. What do you call that? Initializing, and it should be initializing the same each time, and so it never did that here. So it never went flat on this line where he's holding it and it's not moving. That's what this is. This is him holding it and not moving, not letting go. And then he lets go at a point, and that's when the sensor detects. So this line gets longer depending on how long he waits to let it go. There's no other reason it gets longer. That's what it's waiting for. So it's just absolute bullshit to lie about how these sensors work. They're not supposed to create erroneous startup. Initialization should always be the same. It shouldn't be different. All right. Let's see. That's why anything closer. Okay, anything closer than 20 centimeters will give absurd data. A ridiculous statement. Both carts were in the same location. One provided accurate data and the other provided inaccurate data. Just keep lying. So I mean, they're both in the same location. The software is turned on. They should record exactly the same thing, which is no velocity, and then you release them. So it's just a pathetic lie to sit there and say this is how the software is supposed to work. The software is supposed to do this. It's not supposed to initialize the same each time you do the experiment. That's a pathetic lie. Okay. All right. Just keep lying. Yes. Okay, you can see that in the velocity table during the experiment. The starting line is part of the experiment. What the data shows is him distorting the release of the second cart, and that's what it clearly shows. He released it really early, and he was dragging his finger. Also, you said you were going to count the frames. Why didn't you do that? Once you can see that he didn't allow the second cart to reach its full acceleration, there was no point in counting frames. So once I realized that what he had done, which is drag his finger on the cart, what's the point? Yeah, he obviously forced the rubber band to use up its energy, applying friction to his finger. That's why people don't use quick releases. It's because it allows them to fudge experiments. All right. So again, he says, this is Blue Moonshine. Okay, once you can see he didn't allow the second cart to reach its full acceleration, there was no point in counting frames. And so he laughs at that. Okay, poor loser. The cart is no longer accelerating as soon as it is no longer in contact with the rubber band. Yes, that's the most important part of the experiment, is when the rubber band is pushing the cart. And that's the part where you dragged your finger on the cart. And that's what the evidence shows, you lying scum. So, I mean, just so obvious. All right. Yes, laughing out loud. If we have to always say that to everybody. Like, it's like saying 10-4, good buddy. You know, in the old CB days. I guess we all should say laughing out loud, good buddy. Yeah, laughing out loud, good buddy. After every comment, everybody say laughing out loud, good buddy. Yeah, because that's it, right? That's all this is about. Is let's just mock each other. Right. Let's not do science a favor. Let's not find the truth. Let's not be discoverers of the truth. No, let's just mock each other. Fuck. Some choice you're providing. Anyway, the cart is no longer accelerating. Okay, where did I say otherwise? So of course I didn't say the cart was accelerating after it left the rubber band. I never said it would be, obviously. So it's just an idiotic straw man to pretend I was arguing for anything else, that you fucked the experiment before the cart left the rubber band. That's when you fucked it. Okay, the point isn't about what happened after it left the rubber band. Clearly the argument is you prevented what happened You perverted what happened before it left the rubber band. So obviously that's when you shenaniganed the experiment. Okay. You inhibited the acceleration. The computer clearly caught you cheating. That's clearly what the fucking computer caught, was you cheating. Okay. And now everybody can see you're just a cheater. Everyone should ask the question, why didn't you do the experiment with 4 rubber bands? Okay. Some other asshole random shit for brain chimes in for no good reason. You do realize this, but if using twice as many rubber bands resulted in twice the velocity, that would mean that the object was accelerated not twice as fast, but 4 times as fast. Don't you think this sounds plausible? No, I think it sounds ridiculous. If it's moving twice as fast as it's accelerating, it's moving twice as fast, twice as fast, twice as fast. Through the whole acceleration process, that clearly can't be 4 times as fast, because it's moving twice as fast. If it's moving twice as fast, it can't be going 4 times as fast. 2 things can't be 4 things. So see, 4 and 2 are different words and they're different concepts. So they both can't be doing the same thing. You can't do 2 at the same time you're being 4. You can't do that shit for brain. Oh, God. The computer clearly caught you cheating. So that was my quote. Don't you think they would try a bit harder to make it look like they were not cheating? No, they're fooling idiots like you. You're a fucking doopy, stupid pieces of cruttinous crud. So obviously they think they can get away with anything. There's Hollywood actors who think they can just murder people right in front of everybody and it doesn't matter. So let's not pretend. Oh yes, that's all they are. They're just so arrogant. They know no jury's going to convict them. They're Michael Jackson. Yeah. That's all. They're counting on you people being so fucking stupid. It wouldn't matter if he actually showed his scuzzy finger drag on the cart. You'd still think it was a credible experiment. You still think that 10% of the data is good enough for a New York Times headline. That people should write New York Times headlines about experiments where they had 10% of the data. Yeah, that's what you think. So obviously he doesn't think he has to prove anything or do anything because you're all idiots. Okay. I would try a bit harder to make it look like they were not cheating. Well, I think he did try, but he failed, obviously. If they actually were cheating, it's the same with Professor Lewin air track. If he was cheating, don't you think he would have happened an extra weight instead of putting them in plain sight? I don't know what that even means. If he would have hidden an extra weight, how do you hide them? Exactly, you really can't. Because then if you unbalance the cart, it'll drag, and that won't work. So I responded to that horseshit. I said something can't be going twice as fast and 4 times as fast. You are crazy. Do you think this sounds plausible? I think you have shit for brain. The computer clearly caught you cheating, don't you think, blah, blah, blah. People willing to lie about what Isaac Newton said obviously don't care about being caught. So this is sort of the argument, right? I mean, these people, you say right into their face, look, it's right underneath the second law. Newton says twice the force, twice the motion, 3 times the force, 3 times the motion. Aren't we done? Is there some argument that Newton believed in Leibniz's theory? No, it's clear that Newton believed in momentum. So why are we having any argument about what Newton thought? Okay, it's clear what Newton thought. He did not think it's mv squared. He did not think it's 9.8 meters per second squared. He did not think it was 9.8 meters per second per second. He thought it was 9.8 meters per 1 second. 32 feet per 1 second. 15.5 French feet per second. That's what Newton said. That's what Newton believed. And you people are pathetic morons to sit there and believe people who lie about what Isaac Newton said. And you believe them. All right, this is the same with Professor Lewin air track. If he was cheating, don't you think he would be hitting? Okay, and I said, his demonstration was for first-year students. And how exactly would he hide absent weight? That is, he has to somehow make the heavy cart, the twice as heavy cart, look twice as heavy. So he'd have to make little fake weights to put on it, that look like you have to paint styrofoam or something. Can you see how desperate you look? No, it's just so silly to sit there and think that, okay, any experiment has obvious defects, you're just going to accept it. And it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter if they got it wrong. It doesn't matter that they're making up some story about a glitch in the experiment or something else. You don't demand good evidence. You'll accept any evidence that supports your theory. I'm not the same person as you. I'm not going to accept faked evidence. Experiments have obvious defects and you're defending it. You really think the Eddington experiment was good science. 10% of the data quality is good enough. You're insulting your neurons. And this is a simple fact. All you fucking science defenders are insulting science. You're insulting your own neural capacity. You might as well just flush your brain down the toilet because you will not put it to any useful use. You will not defend the truth, and that's the only thing you should be defending. So anyway, keep making a fool of yourself. We enjoy it. Whoever the we is, right? The imbeciles of the world. Lying scum, imbeciles promoting religious nonsense. Okay, so the random asshole says, something can't be going twice as fast. Okay, of course that's not what I said. It's exactly what he said. So look, I shouldn't even read his comment. This is just such bullshit. I said twice the rubber bands must increase the velocity 4 times as fast. How can you increase it 4 times as fast if it's going twice as fast? How can twice as fast be 4 times as fast? It really can't. If the object gains twice the velocity, the time being pushed by the rubber bands is halved. So what? That equals twice as fast. That doesn't equal 4 times as fast. You don't go 2 times 2. Okay, it's 2. That's the same 2. You're just recognizing it's twice as fast and it's going twice as fast. You don't multiply those two 2's. So the change in the motion must happen 4 times as fast. There's no 4 times as fast. No, I don't get it. You're an idiot. You're a waste of my goddamn time is what you are. And how exactly would you hide the absent weights? I don't know what you mean by absent weight. Well, I meant the cart that Professor Lewin says is twice as heavy doesn't have any evidence of being twice as heavy. It doesn't have twice as much clay on it. It doesn't have any clay on it. Yeah. It's a big miss of clay. Okay. Your issue was the blob of clay or whatever it was. So you can't even pay enough attention. Whatever it was is all of the extra attachments were missing. There weren't 2 springs. There weren't 2 weights. There weren't 2 of anything on the cart that's supposed to be twice as heavy. How can it be twice as heavy when it doesn't have twice as many of the same weights on it? It can't be twice as heavy then. Let's see. I said twice rubber bands must increase the velocity 4 times as fast. Pure insensible crap. So the change in the motion must happen 4 times as fast universally. Twice as fast is not 4 times as fast. So I don't know how else to say it. You can't say because it's going twice as fast, it's going 4 times as fast. That's just too silly. All right, and I said the problem with the experiment was the cart that was supposed to be twice as heavy didn't have any clay, didn't have any extra attachments, couldn't possibly be twice as heavy. And that should be enough. Right there, you should just say that's enough. Okay, you've made your point, you've made your proof. All right, so I think I'll just block this guy. So what does he say here? Pure insensible crap. Do you think it always takes the same amount of time for the rubber band to launch an object from... No, it takes twice. It does it twice as fast. So what? Doesn't mean it's going 4 times as fast. It's going twice as fast. I've already made the point 17,000 times. Just go to hell. Fuck you. You're just wasting my goddamn time. So all these threads are a waste of my goddamn time. So now that I've read them, we'll be just done with these assholes. Fuck off. Oh, that's Blue Moonshine. Well, good enough. yeah, he's a waste of time too. I think, yeah, that's who I just killed, I think. I can always put him back, I guess. But yeah, fuck this bullshit. I mean, when people won't admit the obvious, I mean, to defend the software as being glitchy is just too ridiculous. It's supposed to be glitchy. No, it isn't. So, let's see. Okay, yeah, so got rid of all that shit. Alright, done with those morons. So, I will I will unblock Blue Moonshine just for the fun of it. But, I mean, look, I have absolute contempt, right? I mean, what he's doing in terms of extorting, harassing the house, the person who owns the house I'm living in, he's harassing that person for no good reason. And that's just disgusting behavior. There's nothing you can say. I mean, he couldn't get it worse than he deserves. Just a fact. He's a scum. He's human scum. And he doesn't deserve how civil I have been. Yeah. So we only got 5 comments here, so we'll read them. Audio is good. I would like to stay, but I have to go back to work. Yeah, well, I understand. Work sucks. He's going to have to find a cheat to make 4 rubber bands make something go twice as fast. He might try to add friction. Well, he already did that. I think he's going to, stretch the rubber bands a whole bunch ahead of time. Yeah, I mean, you can ruin rubber bands fairly easily just by heating them up. The hotter they get, the less they work. And the longer they're stretched, the less they work. So we'll see if he does anything obvious like that. All right, early stream. Yes, we're trying a daylight one. Hard to trust Valerie. We'll do the experiment honestly, considering how crazy he is. Yeah, well, that's the whole point, though. We'll get proof of it, right? So he's doubling down on it. So now it'll be certain. Like the first experiment, you could argue, oh, okay, maybe he made a mistake, maybe blah, 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 right? But if he fucks this one too, then it'll be hard evidence that he deliberately deceives people. He deliberately tried to deceive humanity. He lied to the entire human race on purpose. And that's what this second experiment will prove, is that he's doing it on purpose. He's deliberately deceiving every fucking human on Earth. So that will be what I'm after. Conclusive proof. No weaseling out. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, that was an error. It won't be an error the second time. Fool them once, they're bad. Fool them twice, you're a fuck. Yeah. You should get what you deserve. Lying scum. Alright, so I guess we're done. Yeah, I guess we are. Yeah, so. Alright, till the next time and such. So, let's see what he does. Let's see what he produces as a credible experiment. Hopefully he'll film it decently. I mean, it'd be nice if he just got a regular camera and put it over the air track, and then he could come back to it and do a couple of different experiments. I mean, there's so many experiments I'd like to see. But we'll see. We'll see what we get. And such. And so forth and whatnot.